Premier Automotive Group is busy making a difference in the community and around the world. Founded by Troy and Tracy Duhon, Giving Hope is a New Orleans-based foundation providing support to those in need. Giving Hope NOLA feeds over 230 people every day through the food pantry of New Orleans. The Hope House coordinates annual mission trips to fund and build orphanages around the world, and Giving Hope Ranch partners with the New Orleans Mission to serve men and women of the New Orleans Mission. Giving Hope NOLA and Premier Automotive is making a difference. Visit us at givinghope-nola.org. College football and the LSU Tigers continue to move on up, as the Jeffersons would say. East side, west side, wherever it is, they're moving up because they keep winning and remain unbeaten. This time, it was a big SEC victory at home against the Florida Gators. Leonard Fournette, the easiest touchdown he'll have this year, and that was against a really good defense. And then, of course, Fournette just put his shoulder down and drives for the end zone against a really good running defense. This kid ran for 180 yards. And, of course, the two scores of blown coverage here. Tigers have to fix that. Can't have it. But then they made plays in the passing game. Brandon Harris able to escape. Beautiful job there by Harris. And he unwinds down the field. And look at Malachi Dupree of John Curtis. Oh, Brandon Harris had a good game, Brian. He threw the ball well.
Second game in a row, 13 and 19, 202 and 2 TDs. Look at that. What an outstanding play. The Mad Hatter is at his best right there.
He's got it. Bragg to Domingue. Even Florida's coach said, yeah, good job. And watch him bobble it, Ricky. Look at this.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, my. And that's a fumble if he doesn't catch
Absolutely.
it. Absolutely. So, Ricky, it takes guts to call that play. LSU wins 35-28. Fournette 180 yards. Domingue, of course, the fake. And now Western Kentucky, a good offensive team coming in this Saturday. But one of the things, Ricky, that you've always liked about Les Miles, much like Sean Payton, is their daring nature. They're not afraid to try things. And both coaches did this past weekend. Payton went for it on 4th down, and the Saints had a perfect play and an easy touchdown to Ben Watson. And here's Les Miles. You know that's film study. They see something there to call a play like that, which works beautifully.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, it takes guts to do that. But you can see that it was an even match game came into that play. I mean, and that's what LSU needed. They needed a break, and they got a great break right there. And you can see that's the team that won the ball game who had the break on special teams. I
mentioned Brandon Harris making plays. Brian, Malachi Dupree, 4 catches, couple of scores. It's big to see receivers in the passing game stepping up. They need that.
Absolutely. When you think about it, Fournette and Dupree, kids in our backyard, John Curtis and St. Aug. You know, we keep turning out kids out of this area that go on to play in Division I schools and do great, great things. You know, two things concern me about the LSU team, Kenny, as we go forward here. One, their defense lacks focus for 60 minutes. They give up, you know, they let teams come back in. Now, Florida's a good team, don't get me wrong. And then 2, there's special teams, okay? You can't afford to do that if you're going to win a national title. You got to get better on special teams, and that's something they got to correct quickly.
They will not beat Alabama with that kicking game, Ricky. You can't muff a punt again.
Yeah.
It's happened more than once with White, and you can't allow a kick return, this time a punt return, for a touchdown. They've now allowed a kick return and a punt return for a score, and they've muffed 2 punts, and their punter, Jamie Keene, is woefully inconsistent. If you lose the kicking game to a really good team, you're going to lose the game.
Yeah, well, I tell you, Alabama ain't been great on special teams.
No, you're right. You're right about that.
But I like LSU quarterback now. I mean, I think as he matures, he getting better every week. And you see some of the passes that he made, they NFL passes. I mean, at first, I wasn't impressed with him last year as much, but this year, you can see that he's getting better as he gets older.
Ricky, what I like about him, too, and it's not even the passes he completes. You know, if he doesn't have a play, he lives to play another play.
Right.
He gets rid of it, and that's a mark of a maturing quarterback.
Well, the touchdown to Dupree was signature Harris.
Yeah.
I mean, great escapability, extended the play, and made a play. That was terrific. As a result of the big win over a fellow top 10 team, LSU moves up in the Associated Press top 10 this week. The Tigers are up to 5th. Remember, you have to be in the top 4 in the final rankings, total rankings, to be in the national championship picture. But if LSU take care of business, rest assured they'll be top 4, if not the top team. Ohio State, Baylor, Utah, whereas USC this week, and TCU occupy the top 4 spots. Clemson knocking on the door. Michigan State, oh my. How can we possibly talk about that based on what happened? You just feel so sorry for the punter. It just kind of reminded you of Russell Erschlaven to a degree. I mean, look, when you saw that, that's what I thought of right away. Like, what is he thinking? Or Garrow, you're probably.
That's who I thought of, really. Yeah, that's who I thought of. But you're right, Kenny. I mean, you know, it's an unfortunate situation. Here I am, I'm ready to go, my God, Jim Harbaugh might be the coach of the year, and then seconds later they lose, and you go, whoa.
Unbelievable, Rick.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man, just looking at the punter, he really didn't know what to do. After he picked the ball up, he should have just laid on the ball. I mean, you know, and they would have still won the ball game, so that's what I couldn't understand. You know what makes me, what gets me more than anything, that the threats and stuff that these kids get after they make plays like that. I mean, you just can't believe society to take football that hard that they want to threaten kids over a football game.
Pitiful.
It is.
I just thought that was pathetic, awful. People take it too seriously, but I'll tell you why they do. Money.
Yeah.
It's all about, it's not just the betting, you know, which is illegal except for, you know, we know in Las Vegas, but also all this fantasy stuff. It's extended to college football now. It's a pro game, but you've seen some of the things that have arisen recently that are scandals in the fantasy world. And listen, if people want to get involved in fantasy football, that's great. I'm all for that if they do it for fun, but there's money involved in this.
Big money.
So for anybody to say this isn't gambling,
big money.
Are you kidding me?
No. Big money. Yeah, and you know what? Go back to the play just for a second, real brief, is that somebody messed up there, not just the punter, but as a special teams coach or as a head coach, you have got to prepare your people in the event that you do fumble a ball. If they fall on it, okay, you got a much better chance of winning. So you know, you gotta school these kids up. They're just young men. You know, you gotta school them up.
Meanwhile, the Tulane Green Wave played on Friday night. Maybe it was a good thing they did. They got lost in the prep football shuffle, and here's why it was a good thing. They got hammered by Houston 42-7 and did nothing offensively in this game. I mean, they threw for 88 yards, got beat up front, whipped consistently, and Dontrell Hilliard rushed for 53 yards and a touchdown. It's hard to find anything there. Houston has a receiver, Stephen Dunbar from Rommel, who's caught 20-some-odd passes, and he ought to be playing for Tulane, but you got to recruit those guys.
Well, you know, I'll tell you this, Kenny. You know, sooner or later, Curry's going to have to stop making excuses over there. But, I mean, you know, you still are losing the team that you should be beating. So, I mean, it just, and the schedule ain't going to get no easier for them. So, I mean, it's like, you know, every week you hear a different excuse.
It's a tough league. Brian, it's real simple. They can't compete with the good teams in their league.
No, and if you just look at the digression they've made, you know, they played this team tougher last year.
They beat them.
Yeah. Excuse me. They beat them. So you can't, you know, in a matter of a year time, this 35-point difference. Now, you're right, Rick. I mean, you know, you can't do that and keep your job.
Yeah, and you still got Navy and you still got Memphis before you get into a little bit softer part of the schedule. So you know what's coming, and it doesn't look pretty. When we return in just a moment, we'll talk prep football and see an amazing player who's hopefully not hurt too bad as sportsNOLAtv continues.